Yo, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Calvary's Cave, and today we're going to be taking a look at Berserk Deluxe Edition Volume 11 and continuing our journey into the Millennium Falcon Arc. And real quick, if you haven't seen any of my previous videos regarding the Berserk manga, feel free to hit the link and check it out. But without any further ado, let's just get into it. First off, I gotta be real with y'all. I don't know if I'm tweaking or if the magic of the story is just kind of fading for me. Don't get me wrong, this series still hits different, but the Millennium Falcon Arc has been running so long, it kind of feels like it's low-key testing our patience. Like, bro, we get it. We're in the boat era now. The last volume straight up felt like pure setup. Some choices in there I wasn't really vibing with, but volume 11, it actually does deliver some clean payoffs. We're finally getting that raw, heavy energy that made the Conviction arc go crazy. The tension's back, the darkness is cooking, and it's got me properly locked in again. And can we talk about that ending? Nah, because that cliffhanger is straight up criminal. My heart stopped for a second. I'm actually hyped to see where Miura is taking this story next. Feels like we're finally circling back to why Berserk felt so unstoppable. The wait for Deluxe Edition Volume 12 is already killing me, but just wait until next week where we finish the Millennium Falcon Arc and we move over to Fantasia. We're still stuck trying to bounce from that city, and things are straight up not going Guts' way. Once again, it's basically Berserker armor goes boom, while the rest of the crew feels like they're riding the bench. I get that the armor comes with a brutal cost, but it's starting to make me wonder, why can't the squad pull more weight? Shiruka drops one big spell and then she's tapped out. Isidro's just there. The only one who's actually cooking something is Serpico, and I'm honestly here for it. The growing dynamic between Guts and Serpico is low-key one of the best parts of this volume. Yeah, Serpico still side-eyes what Guts might turn into down the line, but you can feel the respect building. Two different dudes who have been through hell starting to actually trust each other. Now the fight itself, man, it eats up the entire volume. Miura just starts spamming those elephant fish kaiju things like he hit copy and paste in the panel editor. I was already confused by the design back in volume 10, and now they're everywhere. It made Gus's mission feel impossible, but weirdly the stakes didn't quite land for me, and it started to drag. Things picked up when we finally meet the mysterious guru looking dude, the one who was smoking that hookah from the last volume. This guy's actually a problem. He clocks the Berserker armor immediately, and he's got his own ancient names for it, and I thought this dude was going to be a one-off side character, but no, he sticks around for the whole volume and clearly has bigger plans, and he seems way more dialed into the astral plane than Shiruka, practicing that same craft but on a much bigger, scarier scale, and that's intriguing. Still, the highlight for me was watching Guts and Shiruka tag team to keep Guts from losing his mind while the armor's trying to cook him alive, and that teamwork was awesome. We see Shiruka really putting in work to keep Guts from getting fully cooked by the Berserker armor, but it's clearly draining her on the astral side. You can feel the story setting something up there, like she's paying a bigger price every time she dives in. Not sure where Miura is taking that thread, but it's got me thinking. Still no word on that mysterious kid from the beach back in volume 10, and I'm just sitting here like, okay, I guess we're gonna circle back to that when the time's right, I guess. Now we get to one of the real highlights of this volume. The Dread Emperor rolls up and starts throwing hands at Guts. What's wild is Guts actually holds his own for a solid minute against this guy, and that earns some of his respect. So the Emperor straight up offers him a spot on his team. Classic Guts though, he hits him with the cold shoulder and some brutal words, and we're right back to fighting. While the Kushan Empire is tearing through the city, the new Band of the Hawk finally makes their move, just like Sonya predicted in the last volume. But the scene that had me locked in, Nosferatu Zod shows up and starts swinging at the Emperor, only to get bodied pretty hard. And it's low-key satisfying seeing someone put Zod in check like that for once. And what comes next is pure heat! A temporary team up between Zod and Guts. These two are still throwing shade at each other the entire time. They keep going back and forth like, oh, I'm gonna kill you after this. But they actually do work together in this moment. Watching the Black Swordsman and the Immortal Apostle tag team, that's the kind of chaotic crossover I didn't know that I needed. They don't beat the Emperor, but they land a hit that actually rattles him. Mad respect. True to form, Zod calls off their personal beef for another day when they're both at full strength. Shortly after, they finally secure a boat so the crew can bounce, and just like that, they're sailing off into the open sea. One thing that I completely forgot to mention last time, and that's my bad, I gotta apologize for that slip. This is a really massive plot point, and it really did deserve a spot earlier. They are setting up that Casca could actually get her memories back once we make it to Elfhelm in the Fantasia arc. There's some mysterious power there that may be able to heal her mind, and if that actually happens, it's gonna completely flip the dynamic that we have with Guts and the crew. Guts has never been the type to open open up and talk about his feelings, but if Casca wakes up fully aware, she's gonna have a lot to say about everything that's gone down, and that conversation is gonna hit different. And I'm hoping that they don't pull the, oh, she forgets all the trauma and becomes a blank slate normal person route. That would feel like a cop-out after everything that she's been through. Either way, that is a huge piece that I should have brought up. Sorry again for missing it last time. But back to the story, we cut back to the city and the Kushans are still pushing hard, which sets the stage for the new Band of the Hawk's grand entrance. After all these volumes of watching them build in the background, this moment feels like the payoff. Everything the Millennium Falcon Arc has been cooking towards is finally starting to pop off. This volume had some real peaks with those big character clashes and team-ups, even if parts of the fighting dragged earlier. The way Miura balances the monster fights with these shifting alliances and rivalries is next level. The Kushan Empire goes all in with a full-scale assault on the city. The defending armies are pushing back as hard as they can, but they're still reeling from the damage the night before. We get some slick fight scenes of the new Band of the Hawk just farming the Kushan forces. They look straight up unstoppable. What actually matters most here is Griffith being back on the battlefield in person. Everyone from the regular troops to the higher-ups is watching the reborn Band of the Hawk operate, and that's the moment the whole situation flips. Owen, the guy who spotted Guts last volume, immediately clocks Griffith too. So Griffith still got that old school reputation from his human days carrying weight. People respect the legend, even though none of them know that he's a member of the God Hand now. It's interesting seeing how this fantasy kingdom he's trying to manifest is slowly locking in. For me, the real oh no moment hits when you realize how perfectly Griffith has stacked the deck. He's collected all the right pieces. That religious pope looking figure, they barely say the guy's name, so I don't remember it, so I do apologize. And especially Princess Charlotte. Turns out she's not just important to Wyndham, she's basically running Midland. Once she's on his side, everything starts clicking into place way too easily. Some people still try to push back, but Charlotte steps in like, this is my future husband, show some respect. And then this Pope guy drops the whole, I received a divine revelation card and gives his official blessing. At that point, Griffith is straight up playing on creative mode. Infinite resources, public support, political power, it almost feels unfair. And that leaves Guts in a brutal spot. And I'm watching this thinking, how is he even gonna touch this version of Griffith anymore? Early Millennium Falcon Arc felt like he might have had a chance when it was just Zod and Griffith. Now, with an army, apostles, and this divine backing, I'll admit, Guts still does have an indomitable spirit, but what good's that's gonna do for him? That man will never quit. But realistically, I think he should kind of just let that one go. I genuinely don't see how Guts is gonna win this. One more layer that's pretty cold is the Dread Emperor turns out to be an apostle himself, but the anti-God Hand type. Similar to the Skeleton Knight, though the Skeleton Knight isn't an apostle himself, you know, just work with me here. That's why he was trying to recruit Guts earlier. He's clearly on another level. He no-dips Zod like it was Tuesday, but when Griffith steps up to him, it's not even close. Griffith barely tries and the Emperor gets completely dismantled. The power gap is actually in sight. Dude spirals hard and retreats from the battlefield, and at the time you could tell that this was gonna brew into something much bigger later. We cut back to the ship and the character moments start hitting different. We finally find out what happened to Azan, and the dude's fine. He's just embarrassed that he got dropped from the Holy See. He hasn't ditched the mask yet, but at least he's back with the crew. No more Holy See ties for any of them, which feels fine to me. Loki wouldn't mind a guy like him riding with Guts full time. The Shiraka and Farnese dynamic is growing nicely too. Farnese manages to slip into the astral plane and she's leveling up at a scary pace. And it kind of makes you wonder if her royal bloodline gives her some hidden edge, kind of like Serpico's deal. Nothing against Shiraka, she's still the master, but Farnese is progressing suspiciously fast, and that's worth keeping an eye on. The crew's also slowly piecing together who Casca really is to Guts, and I'm sure we'll dig way deeper into that once we hit the Fantasia arc. Then we get a solid sea battle that felt like a little treat. That pirate from the last volume rolls up again, thinking that he owns the water now, and now we're here. As a One Piece fan, I am eating up these naval fights every time, but Roderick, Farnese's new fiance, is not here to play. State-of-the-art ship, real ocean warfare experience, and he actually gets to shine in his own lane, and that whole dynamic was so refreshing. On the flip side, it does kind of feel like Isidro's getting straight up overshadowed lately. He's mostly just looking up to everyone around him, still trying to find his footing, and I'm not sure if Miura is gonna give him a real glow up or if he's just destined to stay the kid who wants to be like the others but never quite gets there. We're catching up to the story pretty quick now, now, so I'm wondering if he becomes a major player moving forward, or he just hangs in the back as comedic relief who handles fodder. Either way, these ship scenes gave the crew some breathing room and let a few side characters breathe. We cut to something that's low-key starting to bug me with this volume. Farnese's brother, Frederico, is turning into a straight-up hindrance, and I'm really hoping that the story shuts this down soon. Dude can't hold his own at all, especially stuck on the boat. He looks like a walking corpse half the time, and even the manga calls it out. Sea travel is destroying this guy. And then we get this sneaky scene where he slips off to spill his grand plan to Roderick. Thankfully, Puck overhears the whole thing, but here's the part that actually left a bad taste in my mouth. Once they reach Elfhelm, his idea is to take the place over, enslave the elves, start breeding them, and build some twisted monopoly. Now, I get it, he's the least successful son of the Van Diemen family, so this is probably his desperate play to finally get his father's respect. Still, I'm not feeling this direction at all. I was actually enjoying his character in the previous volume, but now he's kind of coming off as pure power hungry, and it'd be really unfortunate if that's all there is to him. I'm kind of hoping that Miura keeps this plot thread short and someone knocks some sense into him real quick, because right now it's starting to drag down the entire crew. But we're starting to hit the final stretch of this deluxe volume, and the setup for the end of the Millennium Falcon arc is starting to get crazy. After getting bodied by Griffith, the Dread Emperor is spiraling hard. He starts making desperate, rash moves left and right, and those creepy experiments that we saw a few volumes back, creating his own demon army, turns out to be some kind of man-made Behelit situation thing. In full desperation mode, he throws himself into the concoction, hoping it's going to give him another power boost that he needs to take on Griffith. But that's uncharted territory. Meanwhile, Minister Foss and General Laban are out here trying to rescue the survivors from the Kushan Empire. We get another dream sequence, which I'm glad is back because those were some of the strongest moments in the Conviction arc. This one features a massive black pillar that's basically going to block out the sun, with the Hawk of Light stepping in. The kids that Laban is protecting are having these dreams too, so the adults are already kind of tuned in. During their rescue mission, it kind of lines up perfectly with one of the prophecies where this weird mist rolls in and wipes everyone out. But right as they're trying to bounce, a Band of the Hawk member has actually snuck into the mix, and this dude's name is Jarif. Yarif? I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name, but he's low-key intriguing. He helps Foss and Laban escort this huge group of prisoners out, and then they straight up run into the Bakiraka. Yarif hits them with a nat 20 charisma roll and tries to recruit them into the Band of the Hawk. Silet turns it down, but after some sharp words from the guy, he lets them pass anyway. Part of me wonders what it would look like if Silet actually joined Griffith's side. It'd be interesting, but I still kind of get the vibe that he belongs more in Guts' lane. Now, I could be wrong though. Owen links back up with General Laban, and they have this quick, respectful reunion moment that felt like the dap up of the century. While they're standing there, they spot Griffith off in the distance, and that's when the volume ends on one of the craziest cliffhangers in a while. This whole back half is pure tension. Miura is clearly shifting gears, and it feels like the Millennium Falcon arc is finally heading towards its close. The pieces are moving fast now. We're closing out this volume, and the way everything ties together is actually next level. That giant black cloud from the dream, it is straight up triggered by the Dread Emperor diving into this man-made Behelit concoction in desperation. He's chasing raw power to take down Griffith, and whatever he becomes is imposing enough to level countries. The way Miura lines up the dream prophecy with real events is a chef's kiss. The massive dark figure swallowing the sun, and then the Hawk of Light stepping in to bring back the morning. Everyone's pulling the exact same Willem Dafoe looking up meme. The art on this grand scale is insane, and the payoff feels so earned. I'm low-key wondering though, is this actually a prophecy, or is it the God hand pulling strings through causality? Like they knew exactly which buttons to press to push the Emperor to this point. Also, Griffith comes out looking like the destined savior. Griffith probably had some foresight too, feeding everyone the vision just to lock in his hero status. Now, Miura's not really spelling it out, but it kind of feels deliberate. Either way, the imagery at the end is wild. This is clearly the fight that's wrapping up the Millennium Falcon arc, and it's so massive that it reaches all the way to Guts and the crew on the boat. The Behelits are reacting, Casca feels it in her chest, Guts is getting that chill on the back of his neck, and even while Shidoka and Farnese are training in the astral plane, they sense the disturbance in the Force too. Something legendary is about to go down. We already know how the prophecy ends, Griffith is gonna win this one, but I'm dying to see exactly how it plays out and what it means for his growing kingdom. This volume ends on a cliffhanger that is straight great criminal. I'm tempted to drop an early episode because I just need to know what happens next. The ending of the Millennium Falcon arc is shaping up to be bigger than the ending of the Conviction arc, and I'm so excited for it, but I'm not exactly sure that it's going to be as big of a gut punch as it was at the end of the Golden Age. Still super cool though. Fresh character dynamics are popping off, and we're getting ever closer to the Fantasia arc, which is the current arc of the Berserk manga, and this ride is only getting better. But yeah, I think that's everything that I got for you guys in this video. If I forgot to mention anything in Berserk Deluxe Edition Volume 11, feel free to let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a future upload, and I will see you in the next video. You still here?